Dingdong. Along the way of cultivating immortals, it has been detected that the host has no Taoist couple yet. Optional list, Xiao Qingrou. Childhood sweetheart and childhood sweetheart, relying on each other, good wife and mother, diligent and frugal household management, ice and jade purity. Bind and reward top-notch foundation building pills. Ning Wanqiu. Master of one sect, born sword immortal, 9 heavenly empress, bind rewards to the innate cave. Chu Bai said, senior sister, when I lay the foundation, I will go and propose marriage. 3 years later, a lovely girl held up the tomatoes on sticks and said, Uncle, you eat. Chu Bai took a bite and said, I am your biological father. Mom said, you have to marry Mom first before you can call him Dad. Chu Bai was heartbroken and said, senior sister, wait for me to get through this time of crossing the calamity and thunder calamity. He was slapped and flew out. Keywords of the novel. Eternal fate. Senior sister, please wait a little longer. No pop-ups, eternal fate. Senior sister, please wait a little longer. Download the complete text. Eternal fate. Senior sister, please wait a little longer. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1001. Disciples of the inner gate of the third layer of Qi refining and free gifts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1001. Inner gate disciple of the third layer of Qi refining and one free Taoist couple as a gift. Dang. 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 In the morning, with the sound of the bell, the disciples of both the inner and outer gates of Qingyun's sect took action and rushed to the climbing platform to watch the annual grand competition. And all of this has nothing to do with Chu Bai. The young man in a grey robe walked on the stone steps leading to the back mountain, with only mountains, rivers, and clouds in his eyes. Nevertheless, certain sounds still reached his ears. Senior brother Wang, who is this senior brother? He, our Chu Chang'e and Chang'e senior brothers, is the only inner disciple of Qingyun's sect who refines the third level of Qi. Shu, don't let senior brother Chang'e hear you. He's an elder's orphan. The Chu family of Qingyun's sect once occupied a peak in the inner gate during their peak period. With the passage of time, talents withered away, and the disappearance of their parents led to the expulsion of the Chu family from Qingyun's sect. Chu Bai and Chu Chang'e are the only sons of the two missing elder Jindan. The mountain road was rugged, and Chu Bai couldn't leave immediately, so those discussions continued. I see, but senior brother Wang, the son of the elder, cannot break the rules of the sect. The threshold for our Qingyun sect's inner gate is the 7th level of Qi refining. State-owned laws and regulations have their own doors and regulations. Even if one tries to establish connections through the door, the later stage of gas refining remains a rigid threshold for the Qingyun inner gate. Not only that, if Qi refining disciples cannot break through to build foundations within the prescribed time limit, they will also have to go back and forth from wherever they go. Yeah. The senior brother Wang said, because of the rules of the sect, if our senior brother Chang'e cannot be promoted to the 7th level of Qi refining within this year, the good days will be in vain. A ball. As leaders, factional struggles are inevitable. During the glory of the Chu family, there was no problem at all, and refining 3 layers of gas was also not a problem. But who made the Chu family already die? Perhaps the downfall of the Chu family had already begun when Chu Bai was born in a mountain village instead of Qingyun sect. Not long after, a heavy and loud drumbeat sounded, and the disciple competition officially began. At this moment, Chu Bai had already walked to the back of the yam garden. Although his delicate face had some reluctance, more of it was the calmness that his age should not have. That's right. Before the end of this year, if you can't cross the threshold of the 7th level of gas refining, you will be kicked out of the inner door. As the bloodline of Elder Jindan, Chu Bai had already reached the 3rd level of Qi refining at the age of 6. However, for some unknown reason, the spiritual meridian was damaged and the cultivation was stagnant, which gave rise to the nickname, the only inner sect with 3 layers of qi refining. Chu Bai was anxious and angry about this, and even cursed at the unfairness of the heavenly way. What about the inheritance left by parents? The spiritual meridians have long been exhausted for healing. Until 3 months ago, in a big dream, Chu Bai dreamed that he had become a resident of Blue Star China. When he woke up from his dream, although his own spiritual meridian problem was still unresolved, his experience in another life made him think of other ways out. The Qingyun sect is located in the state of Zhou, and in addition to the Taoist Immortal sect, the great Zhou dynasty itself is also a major superpower. Wanqiu, a Confucian scholar, cultivates magnanimity and righteousness, and is also able to speak the Dharma freely, ranking among the ranks of the strong. Moreover, ordinary spiritual medicines and methods cannot cure the spiritual meridians in his body, and the Confucian Haranjingqi may or may not be effective. I have decided to become a copywriter, writing a poem every 3 days and a poem every 5 days. I will publish 10 or 8 classic novels in total, with a daily increase of 30,000 yuan. I will kill those scholars. At this moment, Dingdong tip. Host, please stay. A metallic composite texture suddenly sounded. Chu Bai was thinking that in this world, it is not so easy to plagiarize officials. Scholars are often neglected and information dissemination is inconvenient. If one chooses to follow the official school, with literary talent and literary talent alone, Confucian scholars will never be considered rare in their lifetime. Dingdong tip. The system still has 10 seconds to reach the battlefield, please wait. Chu Bai frowned and searched around for the source of the sound, which passed quickly in 10 seconds. In Dream Eye, he naturally saw male protagonists with built-in systems and other golden fingers in entertainment works. Shouldn't the golden finger appear at the end of the dream? Chu Bai thought that the dream of a different world was his golden finger. Dingdong reminder. Chongqing Immortal Road, Wealth Couple Dharma Land. We have detected that the host is at risk of being expelled from the sect and are here to assist. Chu Bai. At the age of 16, he is a disciple of the Qingyun sect's inner sect. Cultivation. 3 levels during the refining period. Spirit Meridian Qualification. Fire Spirit Meridian, damaged. Wealth. 10, 236, Inferior Spirit Stones. Taoist couple. None. Practice. Bone Forging Technique. Technique. Light Body Technique, perfect. Divine Skill. None. Magic Tool. None. Dongfu. A Thatched Cottage. Qiyun. None. Tip. It has been detected that the host is temporarily unable to obtain qi. Tip. The host level has been detected to be too low, and the tool cannot be used temporarily. Tip. The host level has been detected to be too low, and it is currently unable to use divine powers. Chu Bai. Nonsense. If one carries great fortune, how can one refine gas in 3 layers for 10 years? What magic treasures and supernatural powers can be found in the 3rd layer of qi refining? Dingdong tip. Detected that the host is currently without a partner. Another piece of nonsense. In those years of Demeng, he did have a Taoist couple, but that was a dream, it was a dream. However, when it comes to the Taoist couple, Chu Bai remembered his own senior sister Xiao. According to their agreement, after Chu Bai advanced to build the foundation, the two became Taoist couples and lived together. Senior sister Xiao, the gentle and beautiful figure that accompanied Chu Bai from childhood to adulthood, if there was any reason to support him in continuing to cultivate qi and stay in Qingyun sect for 3 months, it could only be senior sister Xiao. Dingdong tip. As the host is facing difficulties, the system will give away a named Taoist priest for free. Immediately after, a semi-transparent box popped up in front of Chu Bai's eyes, which read. List of optional Taoist couples, Xiao Qingrou. 22 years old, a disciple of the Qingyun sect's inner sect. In the later, period of foundation construction, he had a liking rating of 3 stars. Childhood sweetheart and childhood sweetheart, relying on each other for life, good wife and mother, diligent and frugal household management, ice and pure jade, reincarnation of spirit beads, daughter of Qi luck, saints of saints. Becoming a Taoist couple with Xiao Qingrou rewards excellent foundation building pill *1. Dingdong tip. When the target's favorability is greater than or equal to 4 stars, confessing will definitely be successful. Reminder. Registered Taoist couples ignore the rules of favorability, but require the other party's consent before they can officially become Taoist couples. Tip. Naming a Taoist couple does not affect the other party. If the other party becomes a Taoist couple with someone else, the binding will be broken. Reminder. A named Taoist priest occupies a Taoist priest's position, and the newly added position requires the host to repair it before reaching the foundation construction period. Chu Bai. I feel like the suddenly emerging system has finally taken on the appearance of a billion-bit system. He grew up with senior sister Xiao, and they lived in a small mountain village at that time. Xiao Chubai is just a silly kid. At the age of 6, he broke through to the 3rd level of Qi refining and showed off in front of his sister. When he saw that his sister was not very happy, he took care of everything and helped her infuse Qi into her body, clearing the passage. Anyway, when Sister Xiao grew up, she wanted to be her own wife, and the agreement to become a Taoist couple after building the foundation was also made at that time. 10 years have passed now, and with the passing of his parents, only senior sister Xiao remains by Chu Bai's side. Although senior sister has not mentioned it, Chu Bai has not been expelled from the inner gate with the level of waste wood in the 3rd layer of Qi refining, and there must be senior sister's secret running among them. It turns out that senior sister is the daughter of luck. Chu Bai sneered and shook his head. He doesn't care about rewards, but the system's ability to reward him out of thin air proves that he does have unexpected power. The system is activated, and there is hope for building a foundation. It's not a big deal to first designate senior sister Xiao as a named Taoist priest. Qingyun sect's rear yam garden is lush on both sides of the road. In the depths of the garden, on one side of a small medicinal field, one can already see Chu Bai's small thatched cottage from afar. Building a foundation is expected. Chu Bai was reciting these 4 words and was about to choose when new lines of text suddenly appeared below the box, Ning Wanqiu. At the age of 3012, he is the leader of Qingyun sect, at the peak of his spiritual transformation, with no favorability. Master of one sect, born sword immortal, impeccable sword heart, ice clear and jade pure, 9 heavenly mysterious maiden, loyalty and eternal. Becoming a Taoist couple with Ning Wanqiu, rewards innate cave *1. Pink and tender newcomers, seeking collection, recommendation, and care, end of this chapter. Chapter 2002. Ning Wanqiu, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2002. Ning Wanqiu. Chu Bai walked into the cabin with his mouth open, and then sat down on a bamboo stool. The system has added Sister Zhao's name to the list of optional Taoist priests, which Chu Bai can understand. After all, they have an emotional foundation and have been together for more than 10 years. But what kind of ghost is Lord Ning? I am a disciple in the early stage of Qi refining, and I have never seen even the elder of the golden elixir in my life. Master, I am at the peak of transforming the spirit, and I am also a Taoist priest. Chu Bai seriously suspected that the spicy chicken system wanted to kill him. However, there is a sentence in the prompt that does not affect the other party, that is, it is not known by the other party. In the future, Lord Ning's marriage will be considered a thing of the past, so if he chooses Lord Ning, he will probably rent a congenital cave for a period of several tens, hundreds, or even thousands of years. At the age of over 3000 and still unmarried, it is estimated that either he has devoted his entire life to kendo, or there are problems in that area. Chu Bai. Master Ning is a powerful deity during the transformation period. Can I just say something that won't be heard by her? In Blue Star, information leakage is particularly serious, and the wife's prenatal examination will immediately have a private club call to invite her. In the world of cultivation, there are countless people who fly to heaven and escape from the earth. Some are skilled in divination, seeking benefits and avoiding harm, and perceive that some people curse themselves as not strange. Wait a minute. Chu Bai stopped his chaotic thoughts and said, Senior Sister Xiao is my future Taoist couple. I want to choose Senior Sister Xiao Qingrou, not Master Ning Wanqiu. Despite this, his gaze couldn't help but look at the four big characters, Innate Cave. Innate Cave. Innate spiritual treasure that can gather spiritual energy to assist in cultivation. As the owner's level increases, it can also activate trapped formations, killing formations, and blocking perception, with infinite magical effects. A named Taoist priest rewards 3,000 Xiantian Lingbao women to rank in the immortal class. The ancient sincerely did not deceive me. But Chu Bai still said that, he only wants his senior sister. What about the innate spiritual treasure, can it help me build the foundation as soon as possible? The answer is yes. This is a bit toothache. Named Taoist priests, unknown to others, Chu Bai and his senior sister agreed during the foundation construction period, and the system opened up new Taoist priest quotas during the foundation construction period. Chu Bai is not a 16-year-old boy. A qi refining cultivator is only 100 years old, with a foundation of 300 and a gold pill of 1,000. If he really wants to stay with his senior sister forever, he should aim for longevity. Even if we don't mention companionship, living a lifetime for ourselves, wasting decades and enduring for eternity is not comparable at all. Thinking of this, Chu Bai's gaze became firm. Senior sister, when I break through the foundation, I will immediately propose to Elder Peng. Yao Feng Peng Yuchen, Elder Peng, is the master of senior sister Xiao. At the peak of the main peak of Qinyan sect, a clear spring flows and a rainbow of 7 colors reflects on the lake. A woman dressed in white sat cross-legged in a small building in the middle of the lake, playing the piano with bare hands. Her piano voice is gentle and melodious, with lingering notes intertwined with the beautiful scenery of the mountain top, adding a touch of immortality. She is the current leader of the Qinyan sect, Ning Wanqiu, who was a strong figure in the peak period of spiritual transformation. In her early years, the name of Qingyun Ning fairy spread throughout the world, and even had the reputation of being the first fairy of the Zhou dynasty. Nowadays, with the vicissitudes of life, Lord Ning has spread his reputation far and wide, which is daunting. However, time did not leave any trace on Ning Wanqiu's face, but instead added a refined and extraordinary temperament. If she walked out and claimed to be the first fairy, the responders would still be millions. At the end of the song, Ning Wanqiu's white arm was lowered from the guqin, and with a flick of her slender fingers, a bronze mirror appeared out of thin air. Grandmaster Dai frowned lightly, his lips and teeth moved slightly, and a faint voice rang out, "Only the last year is left, which is the day when I will make a pact with Lord Wenjian." It is rumored that Lord Wenjian has broken through to the soul refining stage last autumn, but I still cannot break through the shackles of transforming into a god. The great Zhou dynasty had 4 major sects, with Qinyan sect, Wenjian Mountain Villa, and Taohua Valley each managing their own affairs. The great Zhou dynasty controlled the country's fortune and was on par with the top 3 major sections. Based on comprehensive power judgments, the Emperor of Zhou was the strongest sect leader in this area. Ning Wanqiu is not interested in any kind of emperor, but her master was injured by the former head of the Sword Mountain Villa and had to be locked down. The grudges between the 2 major sects cannot be clearly expressed in just 1 or 2 words. 10 years ago, 2 powerful individuals at the peak of their transformation period engaged in a battle in the western desert, and it has been 9 years since then. Ning Wanqiu saw the door to the soul refining period 9 years ago. Why? Is it because the founder of the sect who created the Qingyun sword technique was a man, murmured the Qingyun sect leader, dressed in white and full of snow. The wind at the mountaintop stopped, and the flowing water hung motionless in the air. However, like a moment when time was still, Ning Wanqiu made a motion to caress the mirror, and everything around her returned to normal. The bronze mirror in her hand is called the Peeping Sky Mirror, which Ning Wanqiu obtained when she was still a mortal. For the first time, she went from being an ordinary merchant woman to a female disciple of Qingyun sect. The second time, she killed the spies of the demon sect and sat on the throne of the sect leader. It has been 1,000 years since the last time I took out this mirror. Next year's contract battle, as the head of a sect, Ning Wanqiu has her own means of saving her life, but she doesn't want to lose. Watching the heavenly way is taboo. The more times you try, the stronger your backlash will be. In severe cases, the way will disappear and die. But Ning Wanqiu still doesn't want to lose. She has been practicing swordsmanship for 3,000 years and has already developed an unparalleled heart. Since she has decided, she must take action. With the movement of stroking the mirror, something quietly moved in the dark. Ning Wanqiu didn't dare to directly check the outcome or the opportunity for soul refining. Her intention expressed to the peeping glass was whether anyone could help her win this game. In an instant, the bronze mirror ripples with water, reflecting a graceful young man's figure. The child was weeding in the medicine field, with a calm expression, sweat oozing from his forehead, but a smile on his lips. Ning Wanqiu pinched the secret, and the young man's background quickly became clear. I, the Qingyun sect, have an inner disciple who refines the third level of qi. Wait a moment. During the qi refining period, the heavenly way. Ning Wanqiu remembers that after the blood of the Eastern Demon Kingdom, she was adopted by the demon ancestor as her own disciple with the body of refining qi. The demon ancestor said that the Blood Queen was the daughter of the heavenly way, and the fact proved that he was right. After taking power from the bloodline, the former demon sect has become today's demon kingdom, and the power of one sect can surpass the 4 major gates of the entire Zhou dynasty. And that demon ancestor, who had already ascended to immortality, everything rose because he had received his blood. The qi refining period cannot help me, let alone I only have 1 year, unless this Chu Chang'e is also favored by the heavenly way. At this point in his mind, Lord Ning was about to descend the mountain. His white and tender bare feet lightly touched the bamboo mat, and his clothes drifted. They drifted past and then back. Chu Chang'e is only 16 years old. Unlike the Blood Queen back then, the disciples of the demon sect have been living in a sea of corpses and blood since childhood. I met him as the sect leader, which may have ruined the fate of this world. A normal genius disciple, from rising to fame, is appreciated and entrusted with important tasks, which requires time to settle down. Ning Wanqiu, the peak of the transformation of the gods and the leader of a sect, rushed over recklessly and said that our sect values you and is willing to accept you as an apprentice, afraid of scaring the child to death. With his right fist pounding the palm of his left hand, Lord Ning paced back and forth in the pavilion and said, "It's because I'm too anxious. A year is not short, and I can definitely take it slowly." After speaking, Ning Wanqiu whispered, "Ali, come and see me." I suddenly realized that the introduction had been harmonized, and it was the first time I knew that the introduction could also be harmonized. End of this chapter. Chapter 3003. Is Chu Bai surprisingly the son of the heavenly way? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3003. Is Chu Bai surprisingly the son of the heavenly way? The Qingyun Mountains, stretching for 3,000 miles, have been dominated by disciple Dabi in recent days. Chu Bai is only on the 3rd floor of Qi Refining District, and he is not qualified to play, so he did not join in the excitement. His system has been activated, and the Novice Gift Pack is a free gift for a named Taoist couple. Selection completed, the system shows that the couple is currently binding. It's better to wait and do something, so Chu Bai picked up a hoe and went to the medicine field he was responsible for, starting his daily work of weeding and catching insects. The fact that the system panel did not disappear over time proves that this thing is not an illusion. Chu Bai can also check the information above at any time. There is a small detail that he only discovered later. You can click on the entry label after the names of Senior Sister Xiao and Lord Ning. Like childhood sweethearts, virtuous wives and mothers, diligent and frugal household management, and pure, as the name suggests. In the middle, the meaning of dependent on each other is clearly written. After the death of your parents, you and Xiao Qingrou relied on each other, so much so that Xiao Qingrou's favorability towards you was extremely difficult to drop 3 stars. Reincarnation of spiritual beads. In the previous life, it was an ancient spiritual bead that had a cultivation speed far exceeding that of ordinary people. It can also increase the concentration of surrounding spiritual energy and assist others in improving their cultivation progress. Daughter of Qi Luck. With the protection of atmospheric luck, one can turn misfortune into good fortune, and encounter numerous adventures. Saint's Disciple. Saint's Residual Soul Bracelet, Holy Way Inheritance, Residual Soul Not Awakened. Chu Bai's Qiyun entry is 0, nothing. Before clicking on Senior Sister Zhao's entry, he only knew that his own senior sister was very arrogant. After reading it, Chu Bai felt that there was no need to choose the next leader of Qingyun sect anymore. Who else could there be besides Senior Sister? However, the remaining soul of that saint needs to be paid some attention to. Although that thing hasn't woken up yet, the cultivation corresponding to the saint is also unknown. The ultimate goal of the Woolen Saint is to seize and give up Senior Sister Xiao, which is terrible. However, the current focus of Chu Bai is still on the principle of mutual dependence. His current state with Senior Sister Xiao is indeed like this. With mutual dependence, Senior Sister's favorability towards me will never drop 3 stars. Chu Bai was weeding while pondering. He would never have done anything bad to his senior sister, and he regarded it as extremely difficult and forever. As expected, it was a last resort, and relying on each other was his ultimate strategy. He cooked raw rice and cooked mature rice. Anyway, Senior Sister Xiao would marry him sooner or later. It was precisely at this moment that a breath that ordinary people could not perceive descended upon the backyard yam garden. The master of the breath stood outside the medicine field, staring sideways at Chu Bai for a long time. He is the son of the heavenly way in Mrs. Mouth. Apart from being a bit good-looking, he is simply useless. During her ordinary days, the leader of Qingyun sect, Ning Wanqiu, was a wealthy daughter. At that time, she had a personal maid named Nangong who joined the sect with her. Today, 3,000 years later, Nangong Lisu is in the middle stage of yuanying and ranks as the Grand Elder of Qingyun Outer Gate. And this morning, Nangong Li was watching the children's fights outside when she saw a bald boy being beaten up by someone fat, feeling good. She detested bald donkeys, extremely disgusted, and suddenly heard the young lady's call. Then she saw Miss Wanqiu, who was completely different from usual. The high-level officials of Qingyun sect are fully aware of the battle with Wanjian Mountain Villa. The day of the battle is approaching, and Miss E has not yet broken through to the soul refining stage. Nangong Li can understand the pressure. Miss, find some fun to relieve stress, Nangong Li can still understand. What's wrong with Miss Keqiu's flustered appearance? What's wrong with Miss Keqiu not looking for someone else to find a little guy from the 3rd level of Qi refining? Besides, she said she understood. The young lady even lied and told her that the boy named Chu Chang'e was the son of the heavenly way. Nangong Li has never seen the son of the heavenly Tao, who is 16 years old and has 3 layers of Qi refining. Not only that, from Nangong Li's perspective, it can be seen that Chu Chang'e's spiritual pulse is damaged. In addition to these years of forced cultivation, Xiao Qingrou's spiritual veins are not far from collapsing in his body. And once he collapses, he becomes a useless person. Miss actually likes this kind of thing, which Nangong cannot understand. Ollie, go to the back mountain to take a look at that child. Just take a look and don't disturb him for now. Very good. Nangong was ordered to use a magic weapon to create an external incarnation, which quietly descended upon the backyard yam garden. She has seen it and completed her task. She will report everything about Xiao Qingrou to Miss Qiu in detail. No, I can tell that his spiritual pulse is damaged, and Miss must be able to see it too. Son of the heavenly way. I want to see where this kid can get involved with the heavenly way. Ning Wanqiu's abnormal state made Nangong a bit angry. She and the young lady depended on each other, so she was a little jealous. Jealousy disguises oneself. In the past 2 years, the overall quality of the external disciples has been declining year by year, and some unpleasant memories caused by the bald disciples have made her forget the difficulty of being deceived by a chi-refining cultivator to transform the peak of the god. It is no less difficult than Chu Bai's one-sword flash killing her Nangong. At this time, in the medicinal field, Chu Bai's work has been completed, collecting weeds and insects and throwing them into the nearby pool water. This pool of water is specifically used for irrigating medicinal fields. In theory, the water in the pool can digest everything and then convert it into nutrients to help the spiritual herbs grow. Wiping away the sweat from his head, Chu Bai walked towards the mountaintop and smiled. Upon receiving the payment from the innate cave, he embarked on a brand new path of cultivation, and he had to thank Lord Ning. A congenital cave may not be a big deal for the peak of transforming gods, but for Chu Bai, it is a longevity of over 100 years. However, this gaze was blasphemous in the eyes of Nangong, who was wearing colored glasses. The summit of Qinyan Mountain is known to be the location of the sect leader. However, Elder Nangong still refrained from appearing, but she didn't leave. The invisible figure blew into the thatched cottage with the wind of the medicine garden. Previously, Nangong had already scanned the entire house with his divine mind. She is not interested in the arrangement of tables and chairs, just like the wooden bed against the wall. The key is under the wooden bed, where there are hidden grids. Nangong waved her hand and moved the wooden bed away, causing the dark green bricks to float away automatically. At this moment, there are hundreds of green spirit stones neatly stacked in the grid. 236 yuan. Nangong Linen said, although Xiao Qingrou is a disciple of an inner sect, due to his low cultivation level, he receives a monthly salary of 10 lower-grade spiritual stones from an outer sect. He is not qualified to take on inner door tasks, and there has never been a record of him taking on outer door tasks, so where did these spirit stones come from? Since it is certain that Xiao Qingrou is not a good person, Nangong has conducted an investigation before leaving. The Chu family may still have some family background, but Xiao Qingrou has a senior sister who built her foundation and joined Yao Feng. Generally, the family cultivates alchemists with the help of the entire clan. Xiao Qingrou's own cultivation is difficult, so it seems that all those resources have been used by her senior sister. 10 inferior spiritual stones per month, barely enough for a low-level cultivator's food and clothing, so where do these spiritual stones come from in the dark grid? Where did it come from? A cold light flashed in the eyes of the southern palace's glass phoenix. 1,000 defenses, 10,000 defenses, it is difficult to guard against domestic thieves. In recent years, there have been countless disciples in Qinyan sect who have guarded the medicine garden and fields, and then guarded themselves and punished thieves. Xiao Qingrou is the next one. Suddenly, within the dark grid, there is still something beneath the spirit stone. It is a handwritten booklet. Nangong opened the first page and wrote on it. 30 years in the east and 30 years in the west, do not deceive young people into poverty. End of this chapter. Chapter 4004. Breaking the barrier, refining 4 layers of gas. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4004. Breaking the Barrier, Refining 4 Layers of Gas. Ning Wanqiu suddenly asked Nangong to visit a third-level disciple of qi refining, and his attitude and words aroused deep suspicion in the latter. She felt that the son of the heavenly way was just an excuse, incarnating from outside and coming to the medicine garden, always wearing colored glasses to look at people. Finally, Nangong discovered the evidence of Chu by hiding the spirit stone, but beneath the evidence was a handwritten booklet. 30 years in the East and 30 years in the West, do not deceive young people into poverty. Nangong. A very imposing sentence. However, none of the young people who seek enlightenment in the mountains have a lofty heart. Elder Nangong is also over 3,000 years old this year, and has long been indifferent to any young man's passion. He immediately, and closed the booklet, but quickly opened the second page. Nangong is 100% suspicious of Chu Bai, but if there is no curiosity at all, it is also a lie. Her young lady is a talented individual, and is one of the 4 major sects of the Zhou dynasty. Chu Changde can arouse Mrs. interest, and no matter how deceitful she is, her own decisions are different from those of ordinary people. I want to see more clearly, maybe there's a bill hidden inside. Thinking of this, Nangong stared intently at it. The text on the second page is shorter than the first page. It says, "Don't abandon, don't give up." Nangong smiled again and said, "The journey of cultivating immortality is extremely difficult. Those who lack great perseverance only have a dead end." She stared at the words, abandonment, for a while, thinking that Chu Changde was referring to his senior sister who relied on him for a living. Both myself and the young lady are like this. I still remember that Nangong was only 11 years old at the beginning of her career. She was a pure little girl. Without a young lady, she would have turned into a pile of yellow earth 3,000 years later. Nangong looks to the west, which is her hometown. The Nangong family actually fled to this place, and the family couldn't sustain themselves, so they sold Nangong glass into the Ning family. To say hate, she only hates the group of righteous bald donkeys in the west. It was those bald donkeys who caused her family to perish and wander around, they all deserve to die. The thoughts in my mind and the flipping movements in my hands did not stop. On the third page of the handwritten booklet, Nangong lowered her gaze and in an instant felt like she had been struck by lightning. I want this day to no longer cover my eyes, this land to no longer bury my heart, this sentient beings to understand my intentions, and those Buddhas to be destroyed in ashes. All Buddhas at first glance. Nangong had not fully understood the first 3 sentences, but this last sentence was about herself. The incarnation appeared from outside, dressed in a black robe as black as ink, straight and straight. Above the black robe, a light veil covered the face. Little is known about the true appearance of the grand elder of the outer sect, Nangong. At this moment, Elder Nangong stared intently at the 4 words, ashes fly and smoke extinguish, his blood surging in his heart beating wildly. His phoenix eyes under his eyebrows were dull, and there was no movement for a while. Low-level cultivators introduce qi into their bodies, condense qi to build foundations, and build foundations to form pills. Their main focus is on cultivating qi. At the level of yuanying, one cultivates the Tao. Only with a strong heart and unwavering determination can one achieve great power. Even the demon, whose hands are stained with blood and have killed countless people, has an unwavering belief in their own magic. This is the cultivator. This is the cultivator. Now, Nangong has inexplicably entered a state of enlightenment, and although time is only a moment, she has gained a lot. I can't suppress my magic anymore. The spiritual energy from all directions is crazily converging towards this small house. Taking a final glance at the boy outside, Nangong's hostility in her eyes was reduced by half, replaced by shock. The third layer of qi refining, the son of the heavenly way, is truly true. On the other side, it is true that Chu Bai has 3 layers of qi refining, but with such a large amount of spiritual energy flowing, it is almost visible to the naked eye. Chu Bai is not blind, so he can naturally see it clearly. Dingdong, reminder. Your Taoist information has been updated. Currently, 1 out of 1 Taoist, Ning Wanqiu, the leader of Qingyun sect, at the peak of the divine transformation period, is a named Taoist with no favorability. Dingdong, tip. Congratulations on obtaining Innate Cave Moon Shadow. Innate Cave Moonlight Shadow. Innate spiritual treasure, intangible and intangible, can be attached to any building, and its cultivation level is below the stage of transforming into a divine being and cannot be detected. Chu Bai opened his right hand, clearly during the day, but a golden moonlight floated in his palm. I thought the congenital cave was a big house that fell directly from the sky, but it turned out to be so tall. The congenital spiritual treasure is so terrifying, hee. Chu Bai also wanted a dog head to save his life, mainly to suppress the excitement in his heart. He aimed his palm at the thatched cottage not far away, the moonlight blooming, and then everything returned to calm. Is it gone? Chu Bai ran into the house where he had lived for several years, feeling that there was not much change. Summoning the system panel, there was an additional one in use behind the innate cave. Moon shadow, in the cave column. Chu Bai pondered for a moment and suddenly realized. I cannot detect the existence of innate spiritual treasures below the level of transforming the spirit, while I am only refining the third layer of qi. As for whether this cave is really useful or not, we only know after trying it out. Do as you please. Chu Bai took a few more steps, took off his shoes and socks, went to bed, and sat with his 5 hearts facing the sky, using the mind technique of the bone forging technique. The bone forging technique is based on refining the bones of the body, allowing the meridians around the body to accommodate more spiritual power. Under normal circumstances, practicing the bone forging technique with the addition of medicinal liquid to take a bath can achieve twice the result with half the effort. Unfortunately, Chu Bai's spiritual meridian is damaged. Practicing alone can knock people out of pain. Taking another bucket of medicinal bath is not called twice the result with half the effort, but also suicide. Suck, breathing. On the small wooden bed, Chu Bai's heart calmed down. With the operation of the cultivation method, the spiritual vortex of the Dantian Qi Si has already begun to rotate, and the slightest pain comes from the 8 extraordinary meridians. This is his cultivation. Running for a week, the pain accumulates from the inside out, and a normal person should be screaming in pain. Chu Bai doesn't have it, he's already used to it. In order to break through the level of the third layer of qi refining, he fainted from the pain several times. However, it has been proven that light can endure pain and possess willpower, but it cannot counteract the damage to spiritual meridians. 2/4 of an hour later, Chu Bai remained calm, as if he had not heard the blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. The operation of the cultivation method circulates spiritual power within the body, with the second and third great Zhou Tian. 1.1 Chu Bai's eyebrows furrowed slightly. The pain transmitted by the meridians can still be tolerated, not only by endurance, but also by Chu Bai, who felt that the pain from all directions was even weaker than before. From the age of 6 to 16, for a whole 10 years, Chu Bai thought of various methods, but the pain in his meridians only grew stronger and never experienced a situation where it did not increase but decreased. According to the bone forging technique, spiritual energy can impact the 4 layers of qi refining by running within the body for 24 days. An hour has passed in the blink of an eye, and if Chu Bai remembers correctly, it is already the 11th Great Sunday. 1.1 Chu Bai doesn't know what these numbers are. Just like he forgot to wonder why his thatched cottage could attract all kinds of spiritual energy before it merged with the innate cave. The 12th Sunday. 13, 14, 15. Chu Bai's forehead was sweating profusely. He has been staying at the 3rd level of qi refining for 10 years, talking about going to the mortal world to kill that group of scholars. However, if he could condense qi and build a foundation for the golden elixir primordial infant, and follow the established cultivation route, who would be willing to be with Confucian scholars who need weak chickens for many years? The 18th, 19th, and 20th Sundays. For the past decade, the limit of Chu Bai lies in this. The instinctive desire for survival in his body should have made him faint from the pain. Not today. Chu Bai can still persevere, Chu Bai and Chu Changgu are the only disciples of the Qingyun sect who refine qi on the third level. Now it's the fourth level of gas refining. End of this chapter. Chapter 5005. Shock from Ning Wanqiu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5005. Shock from Ning Wanqiu. 3 days later, Chu Bai lay motionless in bed. It's not that he doesn't want to, it's that he can't. The agreed-upon test of the power of the innate cave, as measured, becomes a breakthrough. Current, Chu Bai. At the age of 16, he is a disciple of the Qingyun sect's inner sect. Cultivation. During the refining period, there are 4 levels. Spirit Meridian Qualification. Fire Spirit Meridian, damaged, protected by qi, slowly repairing. Wealth. 10, 121, Inferior Spirit Stones. Taoist Couple. Ning Wanqiu, named Taoist Couple. Practice. Bone Forging Technique. Technique. Light Body Technique, perfect. Divine Skill. None. Magic Tool. None. Cave. Innate Cave. Moon Shadow. Qi Yun. Master Taoist Couple. Chu Bai admitted to being reckless and found a chance to conflict with the third level of qi refining, so he bumped his head into it. Over the years on the mountain, he has always followed a steady path. For example, senior sister Xiao shone brightly in the inner gate, with the name of a fairy spreading far and wide, but few people knew about the relationship between Chu Bai and her. However, after 10 years of swallowing my anger, I finally had a glimmer of hope. No one could resist it. The last time, we can't play like this anymore, it's deadly. After breaking through to the 4th level of qi refining, Chu Bai fell into a coma and only reopened his eyes for a whole day and night. He was paralyzed for a day, so painful that he couldn't move for a day. Even now, he can only barely sit down, deal with personal physiological problems, and then have to obediently come back and continue lying down to recover his strength. There are 4 levels of gas refining, which is 3 small steps away from the entry. Level Standard of the Inner Gate. A major problem with Chu Bai's cultivation is that his spiritual pulse is damaged, and the efficiency of absorbing and condensing spiritual energy is too low. In the innate cave, there is a spirit gathering array that forcibly gathers the surrounding spiritual energy here. If the spiritual energy inside the house is 10, Chu Bai can only absorb 1, and the innate cave is opened, expanding 10 to 100, 200, or even 3, 500, and the problem will naturally be solved. Next, he also needs to thank the Lord. Because Lord Ning became a named Taoist priest of Chu Bai's qi and fortune entries were created from scratch. Master Taoist Couple. The Master Taoist Couple of Qingyun sect, sharing the sect's fortune with Master Ning Wanqiu. Due to your relationship with Ning Wanqiu not being publicly disclosed, your luck has sharply declined. Qi luck is luck, but not entirely luck. With the protection of qi luck from Qingyun sect, his damaged spiritual meridian began to slowly repair. This is a great good thing. Slow is not afraid, as long as it can restore the spiritual pulse to its original state. Let Chu Bai wait for another 10 years before he is 26 years old. As for what the relationship mentioned above is open. Open a ball. If Ning Wanqiu knew that he had been tied up as a Taoist by a young disciple from the 4th level of qi refining, he would shave the back mountain to the ground every minute. There is hope for repairing the spiritual meridian. I remember my fire attribute spiritual meridian is quite powerful. The fire attribute techniques and fire attribute spells are twice the result with half the effort when practicing. In fact, I am more suitable as an alchemist than senior sister Xiao from the water spiritual meridian. Chu Bai, lying on the bed like wood, smiled. These are all good news, below are bad news. The bad news is that this clearance cost a total of 115 lower grade spirit stones. He is a young disciple who earns a monthly salary from an outsider, and it is not easy for him to save up these assets. The clearance time was from morning to evening, and in just one day, half of his assets were cut off. This is the pot of the innate cave. 1.1 At that time, Chu Bai didn't understand, but now he can naturally think of it. It's eating my spirit stone. 115 yuan. If I don't eat or drink, I'll get my monthly salary. I have to save up for a year. Thinking of this, Chu Bai's heart was dripping with blood. Eating a lower-grade spirit stone with a congenital spirit treasure can only be described as a drizzle if one eats 100 yuan at a time. Chu Bai is a poor person who is even more trash than a drizzle. When I can move, I will immediately go down the mountain to sell medicine. Chu Bai said very seriously. The outer gate competition of Qingyun's sect has ended, and today is the competition among the inner gate senior brothers. In terms of talent, the sect has always attached great importance and prepared generous rewards for the top 20 disciples. In the audience, passion and blood surged, and someone set up a gambling game. Senior brother Zhang lost 3, while senior brother Li lost 5. In contrast, the deacon elders who come here every year are much more calm. Not to mention the annual competition, they have also witnessed countless first-hand selections every 10 years. Occasionally, an elderly person may pay attention to a disciple, inquire about their teacher's background, and have the idea of accepting them, but it is only occasionally. Good seedlings have long been snatched away by others. Those who have no apprenticeship and strong potential will be let go by the elder Yuanying above. Regarding this big competition, there is a small detail. Except for the first day when Elder Nangong from the outer gate appeared, he did not appear at any other time. Elder Nangong is the strongest member of the outer gate and has a close relationship with the sect leader. All the high-level members of the outer gate present rely on her to support them. Elder Hua, do you know what the situation is? I'm old and not far from being buried. I had planned to choose a disciple to inherit my legacy in the next 2 years, but I dare not speak up without Elder Nangong, said an elderly man with gray hair. Elder Hua shook his head and said, as far as I know, it should be the Lord who summoned Elder Nangong. Later, I don't know what happened. Elder Nangong has made great progress in cultivation and is about to advance. In the later stage of Yuanying. Yeah. That's great. In the middle to late stages of the Yuanying period, it is necessary to comprehend and overcome the obstacles, perhaps achieving enlightenment in a year, or making no progress for 1,000 years. From the late stage of Yuanying to the great success of Yuanying, as long as you continue to accumulate spiritual power, the progress can be estimated. In other words, the outer gate of Qingyun is not far from a great cultivator who has a perfect Yuanying period. If Elder Nangong goes further, it is possible to break through to the level of transforming gods. It is also possible for the peaks of the outer and inner gates to sit flat. Ha ha ha. The two elderly people laughed heartily. Compared to the great perfection of Yuanying and the great cultivator of Huashan, having only 1 or 2 young disciples is nothing at all. However, no one knew that Elder Nangong Li had gone to meet the sect leader located at the top of Qingyun Mountain, and his expression behind the veil was very complicated. A pavilion in the center of the lake, Ning Wanqiu, who sat lazily on her side, asked her to sit down and poured a cup of fragrant spiritual tea with her own hands. She said, "Ali, I was too anxious that day. Actually, letting that child develop freely was the best choice. The son of the heavenly way, favored by the heavenly way." The heavenly way told Ning Wanqiu that within a year, Chu Chang'e could help her defeat the lord of Wenjian Manor. Therefore, Ning Wanqiu only needs to do her own thing, and the heavenly way will guide the child to come here to see her. Unfortunately, she cannot reveal the secret about the peeping glass. Watching the heavenly way is a taboo, and if it spreads recklessly, it will inevitably bring bad luck to the future to welcome Ning Wanqiu and Nangong. Therefore, Ali definitely doesn't believe in the Son of Heaven, and may even suspect that their young lady is crazy. Immediately, Ning Wanqiu smiled, and Chuchen's eyes also carried a hint of a smile as she continued, "That's a good child, but I made a wild guess about the Son of Heaven. I can't figure it out. Ali, what do you think when you see him?" Originally, Chu Bai's identity was also speculated by Ning Wanqiu. Nangong said, "He may indeed be the son of the heavenly way." After saying these words, Elder Nangong handed out several white papers with words written on them. Upon hearing this, Ning Wanqiu was first surprised and took the paper, flipping through it one by one. 30 years in the east and 30 years in the west, do not deceive young people into poverty. Lord Ning smiled again, like a blooming snow lotus in the Tian Shan mountains. "Don't abandon, don't give up." Ning Wanqiu blinked lightly and said, "Not bad." On page 3. Ashes fly and smoke disappear. Ning Wanqiu has been reading this page for even longer than the first two combined. She didn't say anything, but she understood in her heart. Nangong Li's past grudge had not been reduced in any way due to the passage of time. Then, flipping through the pages, on the fourth page, Ning Wanqiu froze, like Nangong Li from a few days ago, struck by lightning. End of this chapter. Chapter 6006. A star of favorite feelings and your holy heart, great joy to your Taoist couple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6006. A star of favorite feelings and your holy heart, great joy to your Taoist couple. Ning Wanqiu still wanted to comfort her younger sister. They also grew up together from a young age, and then Nangong Li accompanied her to join the Qingyun sect. Ning Wanqiu knew that the reason why Ali worked so hard in her cultivation was first and foremost for her, and secondly for revenge. In a blink of an eye for 3,000 years, one of them sat on the throne of the Qingyun patriarch, while the other was in charge of the Qingyun outer gate. It is not an exaggeration for the entire Zhou dynasty to say that they were shaking 3 earthquakes with just one stomp of their feet. But if we want to exterminate the Buddha, it is still far from enough. With a slight sigh in her heart, Ning Wanqiu's delicate jade fingers flicked the corners of the paper and flipped to the next page, where she changed it into 2 sentences, 3 million sword immortals in the sky, even if you meet me, you must bow your brows. The sword energy spans 30,000 miles, and one sword shines cold on 19 continents. In an instant, a sword roar surged into the sky. Ning Wanqiu only felt the electric light flashing through her mind, and the waves of madness that surged through the depths of her sea of consciousness as she climbed up the Qingyun sect gate one by one. "Student, what do you want to learn?" "Of course I want to learn the most, Master. The strongest martial art of our Qingyun sect is undoubtedly swordsmanship. The founder of the sect, Li Qingyun, created the Qingyun sword technique and once killed 100,000 swords. The cultivators dare not draw their swords." "Master, I want to learn." "Haha, that's too far away from you, and all the male cultivators who have been able to reach the peak of the Qingyun sword technique throughout history. As a female child, it's better to learn some spells or teach you alchemy as a teacher." However, in the end, Ning Wanqiu still picked up her sword and walked all the way to where she is today. Under the pavilion, which had been scarred by countless swords, Ning Wanqiu's eyes lit up with a divine light. I understand what I really lack." At this point, Nangong Li had already exited the pavilion and suspended on the undulating lake surface. Her late stage of yuaning is approaching, but facing Miss Chiu, who is even higher than her previous level, it is still difficult to resist. "The son of the heavenly way." Nangong Li murmured these 4 words again. Cultivators compete with heaven, earth, and humans, but whether it's humans, immortals, demons, birds, beasts, insects, or fish, they all operate under the laws of heaven. So compared to luck and magic, no one can compare to those favored by the heavens. That Chu Chang'e, with only 3 layers of qi refining, can influence a yuaning cultivator and a deity-transforming cultivator, which is simply outrageous. Thinking about not only doubting himself, but also planning to expel the child from the Qingyun sect, Nangong Li Qingsha's cheeks couldn't help but blush with shame. Hegemony. The fairy in white in the pavilion held the Changhong sword in her hand, and her skirt danced in the wind. The Qingyun sword technique is the most domineering sword technique in the world. What I lack is that bit of domineering aura that overlooks heaven and earth. After saying these words, the white figure disappeared out of thin air, leaving only 2 beautiful and rustling sentences. Ollie, I will be in seclusion. I will definitely leave within 3 months. The day I leave the seclusion will be the time to fight against Lin Wushuang. Oh, by the way, that child surnamed Chu has been so helpful to me. Can you help me take care of him during this time? As the saying goes, don't interfere with him, let him develop freely. In the future, Chu Chang'e will definitely be the strongest Tianjiao of my Qingyun sect. The wind stopped and the water surface returned to calm. Nangong Li bowed and said, on the day Miss leaves, she will be a great cultivator in the soul refining period. Dingdong, tip. Your Taoist couple Ning Wanqiu's favorability towards you has increased, with a current favorability rating of 1 star. Dingdong, tip. Your Taoist couple, Ning Wanqiu, is greatly pleased with the Holy Heart. Reward, Tianyan Star Stone Fragment, *1. Tianyan Star Stone Fragments. Ancient star stone fragments that can enhance the level of skills, spells, and artifacts. Chu Bai, lying in bed trying to move his body, had a question mark on his mind. What is the sudden favorability? Is it possible to give rewards to Lord Ning if he is greatly pleased with his holy heart? Wait a moment, doesn't it mean that the registered Taoist couple is not affected by each other? It seems that they are not completely unaffected. I need to be careful. If my favorability inexplicably reaches 4 stars, and Lord Ning puts a sword around my neck to force me to confess my feelings, I, as the wife of the Lord, would not my identity as a Taoist priest be confirmed? Chu Bai smiled, thinking that it was possible to come to 4 stars or take a sword, but at that time, it would be the Lord who took the sword and directly chopped off his head. Don't worry, the favorability rating is only 1 star. Perhaps it was the loyalty and righteousness of the Chu family that moved the patriarch, and thus developed a deep affection for me, the only descendant of the Chu family. The kind of affection that elders have towards younger generations. After comforting himself, Chu Bai pulled out the Tianyan star stone fragment from the unknown system space. This is a black irregularly shaped stone block with a hard texture, which looks ordinary and without any spiritual energy flowing inside or outside. How can this thing upgrade your martial arts and magical tools? Chu Bai felt deeply incredulous. Dingdong, tip. Please select the target and use the Tianyan star stone fragment. Chu Bai has no possessions, and the most valuable one is the Xiantian cave where he currently resides. Yes, upgrade to innate cave. Next time, it should be able to eat less spirit stones. However, Dingdong, tip. Upgrade failed, innate cave moon shadow cannot be upgraded. Chu Bai said, then upgrade to forge bone technique. Tip. Upgrade failed, your skill, forge bone decision, cannot be upgraded. Light body technique. For several years, Chu Bai has mostly given all his study time outside of cultivation to the light body technique. The system shows that his lightness skill has been fully cultivated, and the flying speed of the lightness skill that can be learned by refining 1 layer of qi is not much slower than that of the sword flying skill that can only be learned by refining 7 layers of qi. Let's learn more. Dingdong, tip. Do you want to consume 1 Tianyan star stone fragment to upgrade light body technique to wind control technique? Chu Bai put away the stones and restored calmness. This time he is really testing the effectiveness of the reward item in the system, and the fool is using this treasure to upgrade basic spells. Chu Bai sat up from the bed, feeling much better than this morning. Getting out of bed and trying to walk, there was no need to support the wall. When he returned to practice, the pain from his meridians reminded him that his body was still useless, but the words, slowly repairing, in the qualification column were reassuring. Finally, we're back on track. Although it's a bit late, activating the system at the age of 50 or 60 is a good thing. In the next 2 days, Chu Bairu will focus on recovery. The next day, he will be able to work in the medicine field, catching insects and weeding. At the same time, he will collect those poorly growing leaves and petals. For the sect, these fragments are garbage that will only be thrown away or burned down with a torch. Chu Bai is different. He is a poor devil with 4 levels of gas refining. Due to the difficulty in finding medicinal gardens like Qingyun Househan at the foot of the mountain. These withered branches and rotten leaves have a market. He is just an ordinary pruning herb, and even if someone discovers him, the responsibility is not much. In the evening, an imperceptible aura descended upon the medicine garden. End of this chapter. Chapter 7007. Nangong Ant. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7007. Nangong. Auntie. Nangong Li is here again because there is nothing to do. Although she is the elder of the outer sect, there are hardly any major events in the outer sect. Her true self has closed down and is ready to start attacking the late stage of Yuaning, but the power of this external incarnation has not been completely consumed, and it has become idle. After taking a walk around the outer gate and guiding several elder Jindan, Nangong Li inexplicably walked to the foot of the mountain. Miss Chiu has already said that she wants Chu Chang'e to develop on her own, so she came this time to go under the bed of the thatched cottage again to see the Heavenly Tao Enlightenment written by this little guy who seems to be the son of the Heavenly Tao. That's right, those few words are insights into the heavenly way. Otherwise, why could Nangong Li enter the state of enlightenment? Stepping lightly on the lotus steps, the black skirt swayed and landed at the door of the thatched cottage, and then Elder Nangong saw a scene that left her speechless. 78, 798081, 82, Chu Chang'e, the son of the heavenly way, was sitting on the ground counting spiritual stones one by one. A lowly spiritual stone, only 1,000 yuan can be exchanged for a medium-level spiritual stone. It's not worth it. I wish I could break it into 2 pieces to count. At the same time, Chu Baixin, who was serious about arithmetic, felt a sense and raised his head. 4 eyes facing each other. Nangong Li, who is in an invisible state, should not be seen by anyone. This is not right. The thatched cottage has now merged with the innate cave. How could anyone touch the door without Chu Bai's knowledge? This is very wrong. Sleeping slot. Chu Bai quickly tidied up the spirit stone and stuffed it under the bed. The thought that the other party was the son of the heavenly way and should not be discovered was quickly suppressed by Nangong Li. After all, she was over 3,000 years old and a great elder above 10,000 people. She then took a step forward and asked lightly, Chu Chang'e, what are you doing? It's nothing, senior, please wait a moment. Hurry up and tidy up, risking his life to tidy up. Chu Bai looked comically anxious and anxious in a hurry. Nangong Li found it very funny. With a flick of her long sleeves, she saw more than 100 inferior spirit stones flipped upside down in the lens, and finally neatly stacked on a nearby table. It's over. Chu Bai's path to wealth is coming to an end. Due to the black-clad woman on the opposite side being able to quietly touch her, Chu Bai called her senior. This senior is dressed in an elder's black robe, of a female gender, with a good figure. A light veil covers most of his face, making it hazy and unclear. His voice is clear but somewhat stern. She shouldn't have come to kill Chu Bai. With Chu Bai's strength and status, the elder arrived without any need to talk nonsense to him. Thinking of this, Chu Bai bowed and bowed. Disciple Chu Bai pays respects to the elder. The first meeting between inner disciples and outer elders should not be like this. Being caught by an elder can quickly restore composure, which is a good mindset. Nangong Li nodded slightly and sat on the bamboo stool next to the spiritual stone wooden table. Chu Chang'e, do you know the sin? Elder Nangong's tone became even more stern, and Feng's eyes stared straight at Chu Bai. Chu Bai remained motionless and then replied, I don't know. I don't know, but where did these spirit stones come from? No matter how harsh the tone is, there is a strong sense of oppression. Chu Bai said, these spirit stones have the surplus of disciples who are frugal, followed by these. After speaking, he took off the old storage bag from his waist, opened the opening of the bag, and poured out one of the branches, leaves, and petals that looked bad or had defects. Taking care of the medicine field outside the house is my disciples' responsibility, and I dare not forget it at all times. The sect teaches my disciples not to forget their original intention and to cherish every bit of cultivation resources. I guess the sect has arranged me here to teach me how to cherish these remnants. These leaves cannot be stored, but they are useful for some novice cultivators who have just entered the alchemy. It has only been a few months since my disciples finally understood their significance Nangongli, and then you'll take it out and sell it. Chu Bai said, as an inner disciple, I only receive a monthly salary of 10 spiritual stones. Isn't the sect's intention to let me search for the remaining part on my own? Walking by the river often, there is no way to avoid getting your shoes wet. Chu Bai has been preparing for this speech since 3 months ago. There is a strong sense of reasoning in it, and it also seems to be selling poorly. That's right, a disciple of Chu Bai's inner sect can only receive 10 inferior spiritual stones per month. Although the medicinal field he is responsible for is small, the annual output of spiritual medicine and medicinal materials needs to be measured and calculated using intermediate spiritual stones. Is it wrong for him to find a way to earn some extra income, despite the fact that it still costs 10 lower-grade spirit stones per month? Moreover, the dead branches and rotten leaves poured out of the storage bag are indeed garbage that the sect despises. This is like something others don't want. Chu Bai picked it up and went to exchange it for some pocket money. It's ordinary. The rules of the sect also do not say that one cannot pick up garbage to exchange spirit stones. He. After listening to the explanation, Nangong Li slightly curved the corner of her mouth. She is a newcomer and understands that what Chu Bai said belongs to one-sided logic. Indeed, within 3,000 miles of the Qingyun Mountains, a speck of dust belongs to the sect. If a disciple wants to touch it, they must first obtain the sect's consent. Then, there is no spirit stone to run sect missions, and there are also many private missions in the sect. Chu Bai didn't have the task because of his identity as an inner gate and his weak strength. This is his own problem and has nothing to do with the loopholes in the rules for drilling the gate. It's a bit unfortunate that the son of the heavenly way is just picking up garbage. Nangong Li looked at the broken storage bags that had passed through countless hands in Chu Bai's hand, feeling even more desolate. The young lady is right, but she cannot completely ignore this child. This child has a good mentality, but he is stronger than others. If he can't bear it and betrays the sect in anger, the strongest Tianjiao of our Qingyun sect will become the strongest Tianjiao of his sect's other countries. Nangong Li had already noticed that Chu Bai's cultivation had broken through from the 3rd level of qi refining to the 4th level of qi refining. This is in a situation where the spiritual meridian is damaged. If you don't know the other person's identity, Nangong Li will definitely send someone to investigate whether this person has an affair with the demon sect. Atmospheric luck, great perseverance, and the favor of the vast heavenly path. For the sake of the sect, Elder Nangong must protect his hand. Heart and mind electrical conversion. In reality, only a moment has passed. Nangong Li suddenly sighed and slowly said, my surname is Nan, and we used to be good friends. I didn't expect your parents to be gone even after I was locked down once. Chu Bai. Mother. Friend Chu Bai doesn't remember knowing the person across from him. However, as a cultivator in the Golden Core period, it is not surprising that he has been in seclusion for decades at a time. Chu Bai is only 16 years old. Immediately, he lifted his head and shouted, "Auntie." This time it's Nangong Li's turn to be full of question marks. Although it's not wrong to call my mom's friend auntie, is there any speed in climbing up the pole? Seeing that she didn't object, Chu Bai, who had been trembling the previous second, sat down on another stool. You startled me. I thought some law enforcement elder approached me. The inner gate of Qingyun sect is divided by mountains and peaks, like the Medicine Peak joined by senior sister Xiao and the Sword Peak, which is the strongest in killing and attacking. Only the Law Enforcement Hall does not belong to any peak. The Law Enforcement Hall is directly managed by the Lord, and whoever commits a crime will be dealt with. If there is a crime within the Law Enforcement Hall, the Lord will personally come forward and crush it. Nangong Li said, "How do you know that I'm not the elder of the Law Enforcement Hall?" End of this chapter. Chapter 8008. The young man doesn't know how good his aunt is and mistakenly treats the young girl as a treasure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8008. The young man doesn't know how good his aunt is and mistakenly treats the young girl as a treasure. Upon hearing this, Chu Bai was taken aback for a moment, but saw a faint smile in his eyes above the light veil. He calmed down and said, "Auntie, please don't tease me anymore. Since my parents left, I have been a child, lonely and helpless. I really hope to contribute to the sect like my parents, but my spiritual veins. The disastrous sales have come again. The spiritual meridian is damaged and it is difficult to cultivate. Not only practicing, but also using spiritual power to fight people can be quite painful." Nangong Li said, "I already know about you, and you are still good. However, I am not practicing medicine and I am not sure how to solve the problem of damaged spiritual meridians. The eyes of the great cultivator Yuanying are so cruel." Chu Bai refined 4 layers of qi, and the damage to his spiritual meridians was slightly relieved, but there were also some hidden injuries in his body. Everything was clearly visible to Nangong Li. She lifted a finger, the fiery red magic lingering around her fingertips, and then flew out, diving into the sea of qi in Chu Bai's dantian. Lying trough. The sea of qi is the foundation of a cultivator. If the sea of qi is broken, a person will truly become useless. However, before he could react, the basic cultivation technique commonly used by Qingyun sect, the bone forging technique, began to operate on its own. Starting from the sea of qi, warm spiritual power flows through every inch of its meridians without any pain. Without much time to think, Chu Bai immediately changed to a meditative position and savored it carefully. Chu Bai has also tested the innate cave where he resides. Due to the system reward, there are no control objects such as arrays inside and outside the cave, and he controls the opening and closing of the arrays solely based on his thoughts. In other words, when Chu Bai cultivates, if he doesn't want to activate the spirit gathering formation and consume spiritual stones to assist in cultivation, he can achieve his wish if he doesn't want to. However, if he actively accelerates his cultivation speed or condenses his energy to clear the level, the gathering spirit formation will automatically sense the lack of spiritual energy inside the cave and activate it accordingly. At this moment, Chu Bai was carried with the technique of operating the bone forging technique and quickly entered a state of meditation. His spiritual meridians are damaged, and any cultivation of meridians will inevitably feedback pain to remind Chu Bai of this fact. However, with that fiery red magic guiding him this time, Chu Bai felt a warm sensation all over his body. Along with the hidden wounds in his muscles and bones that had been forcibly cultivated over the years, he was gradually driven away by the warmth. No wonder I have been protected by Qi luck, and with the powerful assistance of the gathering spirit formation, breaking through a small area of the third layer of qi refining requires me to be paralyzed for several days. Chu Bai thought to himself, these injuries have been accumulated by me over the years. I usually don't feel any pain in my meridians, but if it erupts at a critical moment, it might even take my life. Senior sister Xiao seems to have also said that my body should not be excessively cultivated. She gave me a warm and nourishing medicinal soup, but that thing was too bitter and didn't have much effect. In the end, it didn't work. After all, Chu Bai's dream was 3 months ago rather than 3 years ago, and to this day, the memories of the 2 lifetimes have not fully merged. I should have pinched my nose and drank it for 3 years. On the other side, as Nangong said, without practicing medicine, she cannot cure problems related to spiritual meridians. However, most of Chu Bai's hidden injuries belong to Yin, and using yang fire magic can completely eliminate them. She waited for a while and looked at her face, which was red and sweaty. She thought to herself that Miss Chiu's big wedding had also cut off her longing for men. From then on, whether it was the matchmaking of elders or the pursuit of a handsome man, Nangong refused. If not, if she really became a Taoist couple and gave birth to offspring, there might also be outstanding and resolute young people like Chu Bai among her family's descendants. Of course, she just sighed. Either the old man or the old lady were by the side of the outer elder Nangong, and everyone was afraid of the elder's authority or the patriarch behind her. Even if she had that thought, it was already too late. That's right, protecting the young lady and striving to cultivate and climb the main road is my goal. Love and affection are all small paths. Nangong stood up and saw that Chu Bai's condition was stable. She reached out and called out, and the handwritten script book within the dark box that had not yet been covered fell into her hand. First page, 30 years in the East and 30 years in the West, do not deceive young people into poverty. Reading this sentence again, Elder Nangong had a new idea. The heavenly Tao probably didn't want to teach an arrogant person, so he gave him a temper. From the age of 6 to 16, enduring humiliation for 10 years, Nangong felt that it was enough. This child was so oppressed that he wrote such words. If he didn't protect himself, he would not be far from falling into the demon realm. After all, the demon path also represents a shortcut to cultivation. On the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th pages, Nangong knew that it was only after reading this passage that their young lady found an opportunity for breakthrough. Next page, I don't feel much. On the next page, I'm talking about swords, which are not suitable for Nangong. I don't have much insight. Gently touch the corners with slender fingertips and automatically flip, page 7. A female college student of 3,000 ranks among the immortal classes. Nangong blinked and didn't understand. She knew each of the 8 words and understood their meaning, but when they were added together, she didn't understand. I don't understand how to continue flipping. Originally she was just casually looking. However, immediately after, Nangong's raised eyebrows furrowed, and the more they furrowed, the deeper they became, and the center of her eyebrows twisted into a knot. The young man didn't know how good his aunt was, so he mistook the young girl for treasure. In plain language, if Nangong doesn't understand it anymore, these years will be in vain. Hello, auntie. Combined with the previous sentence, 3,000 women, and the scene of Chu Bai gazing at the top of Qingyun Mountain a few days ago. Okay, I thought you were going through too much hardship before and felt a little heartbroken. It turns out you have fallen into the demon realm. Our cultivators, it's understandable to borrow some help, but who would think of eating soft food as a serious person? Nangong threw away the booklet and turned her head coldly. Coincidentally, Chu Bai had just used a ray of magic given by Aunt Nan to preliminarily dispel the hidden injury and opened his eyes. Once again, their eyes met, one cold and the other confused. Chu Bai asked, "Auntie, thank you." What's wrong?" Before he could see it clearly, his eyes turned black, and he woke up the next day after tomorrow. Chu Bai suddenly stood up and felt if there were any missing parts on his body. Claiming herself as an ant, she was actually cutting her waist, as Chu Bai had dreamt of. At that time, Chu Bai had a sweet mouth to protect himself, but remained a bit cautious. With the help of his aunt, he gradually relaxed a bit. He wants someone with such high cultivation to play yin moves on a young disciple with 4 levels of qi refining. After exploring, the parts are still there. Chu Bai breathed a sigh of relief. Looking into the sea of Dantian Qi, the cyclone in the sea has grown stronger than before, indicating that the help of Aunt Nan is also genuine. The biggest obstacle for Chu Bai's cultivation is the damage to his spiritual meridians, which leads to a low efficiency in absorbing spiritual energy. Nowadays, the state of his spiritual meridians is slightly slower, and all the hidden injuries in his body are eliminated. In the same environment, if the efficiency of ordinary qi refining 4 layers absorbing spiritual energy is 10, Chu Bai's previous efficiency was only 1 or 2, but now it can definitely be 4, more than doubling. When my spiritual pulse is fully restored, I will accumulate more spiritual stones and fully cultivate in the innate cave. It won't be a problem to make up for the 10 years that have fallen within 2 to 3 years. Senior brother Chu Bai is full of confidence. Then he glanced at the small round table in the room, which was empty. Where is my spirit stone lying in bed? The spirit stone placed on the table last night was all that Chu Bai had. Chu Bai is very happy that he hasn't had his waist cut, even if all the spirit stones have been swept away. End of this chapter. Chapter 9009. Senior Sister Xiao returns. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9009. Senior Sister Xiao returns. Not long after, Chu Bai sat under the eaves outside, holding a brand new storage bag in his hand, and looked outside the medicine garden. The spirit stone on the table is gone, but there is an extra storage bag. There is a spirit stone in the storage bag, not more than 100, not more than 200, but a whole 500 yuan. There is also a note under the bag that reads, "Don't play tricks anymore, work hard to cultivate. When I have time, I will check your cultivation progress. If it doesn't satisfy me, I will teach you a lesson for your parents." The font is very beautiful, small and elegant. This is a note left by Aunt Nan, with a tone full of elders. Chu Bai sells leaves, not quality. He can bring back about 30.40 spiritual stones every time he goes out. He walks at least once a month and at most 3 times. But no matter how many times it is, it cannot compare to taking 500 spirit stones for nothing. Have I finally received some family blessings? Chu Bai said. Aunt Nan, dressed in black, can't see her face clearly while wearing a veil. I don't even remember her appearance at all, I only remember her good figure. Pooh, they are elders. I should be thinking about whether 500 lower grade spirit stones are enough for me to ascend to the 5th level of qi refining. Also, how can I make the leader of Qingyun's sect enjoy his holy heart for 1, 2, 3, or 4 more times? During daily weeding and insect catching, Chu Bai, who had a huge budget, poured the collected dead branches and rotten leaves into the decomposition pool. After all the hidden injuries were eliminated, Chu Bai felt that his body had relaxed a lot. The 4th layer of qi refining had not yet cleared the valley, but absorbing spiritual energy could also offset a certain amount of body consumption. He could eat some dry food every day. Not long after, Chu Bai put the storage bag and spirit stone given by his aunt into the dark compartment, and returned to bed, entering a state of cultivation. Calm down, the slight pain remains normal, but the feedback of spiritual power flowing through the body is excellent. Chu Bai took out the 10 inferior spirit stones he usually carried on his body and thought to himself, use these 10 spirit stones to test the consumption of the gathering spirit formation. The bone forging technique accelerates its operation, and the spirit gathering effect of the innate cave is activated accordingly, at 1.0, 1.2, 1.42.0. In this way, the cultivation speed of Chu Bai and ordinary qi refining 4-layer cultivators can be reduced to half a pound or 8 taels. An hour later, one of the spirit stones placed next to Chu Bai shattered and turned into powder. On the second hour, another spirit stone turned into powder. Chu Bai reduced the speed of his energy transfer to 1.6, and a spirit stone lasted for 2.5 hours. From dawn to dusk, Chu Bai spent his time in meditation. 10 inferior spirit stones must have been shattered. The results show that setting the bonus of the gathering spirit formation in the innate cave to 1.5 has the highest cost-effectiveness, and a spirit stone can hold for nearly 3 hours. Chu Bai's physical fitness is there, and practicing for 6 hours a day has the highest cost-effectiveness. In this calculation, for ordinary cultivation, 500 lower-grade spirit stones can be used for more than half a year. Chu Bai rubbed his bare chin and said, "We need to save the spirit stone that has been upgraded through the level. Subtract 200 yuan, and there are still 300 yuan left. And as my spiritual pulse continues to repair, the demand for spiritual energy will increase, and the speed of consuming spiritual stones will increase again." According to Chu Bai's theory, cultivation speed equals base multiplied by the bonus of the innate cave gathering spirit formation. The current speed is 4 times 1.5, which is 60% of that of an ordinary cultivator. In the future, when repairing spiritual meridians, the amount of spiritual energy that can be absorbed by oneself during cultivation is getting closer to that of ordinary cultivators, and the amount of 1.5 times will naturally increase. 2 months, strive to break through to the 5th level of gas refining within 2 months. At this moment, Dingdong, tip. The mysterious senior's favorability towards you has increased, with a current favorability rating of half a star. Dingdong, tip. Due to more than 3 people having a causal relationship with you, the system has activated a new feature. Suddenly, there was an additional item called Cause and Effect next to the personal panel of the system, and after clicking on it, there were a total of 4 pieces of information. Ning Wanqiu, master of Qingyun sect, named Taoist priest, at the peak of the transformation period. He has developed a liking for you for unknown reasons, and currently has a liking rating of 1 star. Xiao Qingrou, a disciple of the Qingyun sect, your senior sister. In the later period of the foundation building period, she was a childhood sweetheart. After your parents passed away, she relied on you for survival, and currently has a 3-star rating of favorability. Mysterious Senior. Suspected to be an elder of the Law Enforcement Hall, with unknown cultivation and unknown reasons, he has developed a liking for you. Currently, his liking level is half a star. Shirlei, a disciple of the Qingyun sect and the son of Elder Yao Feng. During the middle period of foundation construction, he developed hatred towards you due to his admiration for Xiao Qingrou. His current hatred level is 4 stars. Chu Bai, who was just about to relax and take a nap, said, "Lie down." This new feature is a reminder to him that although the system is not omnipotent, it is very impressive. The system is not sure why Lord Ning has a favorable impression of Chu Bai, nor is it clear about the specific identity of Aunt Nan who came up the night before yesterday. However, it can detect the presence of Chu Bai's rival from afar. Shirlei, surname Shir, what a terrible surname. Chu Bai looked carefully again and confirmed that the son of the elder was not named Shir Hao, then he finally felt relieved. Surnames Xiao, Lin, Yi, and Shir are all terrifying. Back then, in order to prevent himself from forgetting the classic scenes he planned to copy down the mountain, Chu Bai simply wrote down famous scenes such as 30 years east and 30 years west of the river, don't deceive young people who are poor, and hid them in the dark grid with his precious spirit stone. I am currently refining 4 levels of Qi. It's still early for Shirlei to build the foundation in the middle stage. When I break through the foundation, I need to go and listen to this person. Don't deceive young people who are poor. If he dares to say it, he will destroy everyone. Thinking of the dark grid, Chu Bai got out of bed and checked it again. The storage bag containing 500 inferior spirit stones is still there, and the handwritten book recording inspiration is also there. However, Chu Bai found traces of being flipped through in the booklet. Especially the 2 pages that are good for the female college student Sanqian and Auntie, there are obvious wrinkles. Oh, I understand. That aunt only got angry after seeing these things. Chu Bai suddenly realized, Auntie is a senior expert. Next time, I need to explain clearly. Auntie is talking about a 30-year-old young woman's sister, Ba. I'm just hearsay. If I really have no way to make a living, what kind of bad thoughts can I have as a 16-year-old ignorant youth? Outside the Qingyun sect, a woman dressed in a light blue robe presented her identity token and applied to return to her ancestral home. After receiving the token, the mountain guarding disciple released it. After the woman left, the disciple in charge of inspection whispered to the person next to him, "Senior brother, who was that senior sister just now? I feel a bit arrogant." The old disciple beside him said, "It's normal that you haven't known senior sister Xiao for a long time since you first started. Xiao Qingrou, senior sister Xiao, is a disciple passed down by Elder Peng of the inner sect, the kind who inherits the mantle, understand? Moreover, senior sister Xiao was famous for her aloofness when she was outside the gate. In the outer gate competition of the past, senior sister Xiao, who had a cultivation level of 7 levels of qi refining, defeated 2 senior brothers in the 9th level of qi refining, and entered the inner gate as the first in the competition. Everyone believed that Sister Xiao would join the strongest sword peak in the inner sect, but unexpectedly, Sister Xiao chose to specialize in training physicians, pharmacists, and alchemists. The young gatekeeper was about to speak when his senior brother interrupted him. "Listen to me, senior sister Xiao joined Yaofeng for a year and refined the top-grade building foundation pill. She was adopted as a disciple by Elder Peng. The following year, which was last year, the 9th layer of qi refining independently refined the top-grade building foundation pill. Has senior sister Xiao built the foundation yet?" Nonsense, a top-notch foundation building pill can increase the probability of successful foundation building by 50%. Everyone says that within 100 years, senior sister Xiao will have the opportunity to challenge the golden pill. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:010. Senior sister blushes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10:010. Senior sister blushes. The cultivation of a talented woman is indifferent, so it cannot be called indifference, but rather a wholehearted pursuit of the Tao. If Xiao Qingrou had no background, perhaps reality would make her bow down. But her master is Peng Yuchen, the junior sister of the former peak leader of Yaofeng. Before the medicine peak, Ren Fengzhu was devoted to serving the public, with a group of people and horses. Those who died in battle and those who were old died in old age, leaving only his junior sister Peng Yuchen among his peers. And this elder Peng, who is at the peak of the golden elixir, is already over 1,000 years old, and his lifespan is about to end. At this moment, who dares to bully her only biological disciple? Elder Peng dares to drag the coffin and lie down in front of the main hall of the sect. So even if she entered the more fiercely competitive inner gate, Xiao Qingrou still maintained a calm temperament and rarely communicated with people. She practiced alchemy and cultivation daily, and went out to perform basic sect tasks. Nevertheless, the name of Xiao Xianzi from Qingyun sect has spread beyond the sect. Xiao Qingrou is beautiful and kind-hearted. As an alchemist, she is skilled in the light-splitting sword technique and can surpass her level to kill enemies. How could the young talents in the sect not aspire to such a fairy? Even some young deacons have a strong admiration for Xiao Qingrou. At the foot of Qingyun mountain, Xiao Qingrou, with an indifferent expression from beginning to end, walked slowly up the mountain. A row of cranes flew over and hovered on Xiao Qingrou's head for a few breaths. They, who are probably known as the spiritual beasts of the immortal family, were all impressed by Xiao Xianzi. "Hello, senior sister Xiao." "Good afternoon, senior sister Xiao." Most of the passing disciples had met Xiao Qingrou and greeted her with greetings. In response to this, Xiao Qingrou, who combed the girl's hair with clouds, sometimes nodded back and said hello with a cold voice. Someone behind me smiled and said, "Did you see that? Just now, Senior Sister Xiao smiled at me, and Senior Sister Xiao smiled at me." There is another inspection from the outer door to the inner door. The inner gate is almost entirely composed of elite disciples of Qinyan sect, and there is not much leisure time to run around on weekdays. However, the inner disciples who met Xiao Qingrou would also take the initiative to say hello. "Hello, Uncle Xiao. Miss Xiao has returned." "Senior uncle." "No way, Elder Peng's seniority is too high." However, when faced with a senior brother with higher cultivation than herself, Xiao Qingrou simply said hello. If you're not familiar with her, you might think this woman is arrogant. Those who know Xiao Qingrou will never care. Xiao Xianzi's reputation includes kindness, and she doesn't have much to talk about with her mentor all year round. Besides, practicing is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. There's not so much time for polite chatting. If you don't submit to the challenge, Xiao Qingrou may not necessarily lose. The Qinyan Mountains stretch for 3,000 miles, and a single Qinyan sect also occupies a huge area. Xiao Qingrou arrived at the sect gate in the morning and only entered the backyard garden in the afternoon. Her footsteps are neither fast nor slow, and her goal is always clear. Her expression remained unchanged, but upon closer observation, Xiao Qingrou was not exactly the same before and after entering the pharmacy. After about a quarter of an hour, Xiao Qingrou walked into the range of the small medicinal field and looked at the well-growing herbs. Her lips curved and she smiled. In this moment, her charm melted like ice and snow, much more impressive than the snow lotus flowers on the Tian Shan mountains. However, Xiao Qingrou is not interested in these immature medicines. What she wants to see is the person responsible for taking care of the medicine field. With a gentle sweep of her beautiful eyes, the person seemed not to be at home, and Xiao Qingrou was not disappointed either. She stepped over the threshold of the thatched cottage and her jade fingers swept through the air, forming a ball of water vapor that condensed into a water ball. She cleaned the thatched cottage up and down. After cleaning, Xiao Qingrou once again attracted the water vapor inside the house and condensed her hands, completing the step of steaming dry. The next step is for Chu Bai's bedding. Using the same method, wash it with water first and then absorb all the moisture inside and outside the wet blanket. As this was an object covering her body, Xiao Qingrou carried the washed bedding outside and spread it out to dry in the westward sun. Well, Chu Bai likes the taste of sunshine. This is the first sentence that Xiao Qingrou has said in the past few days. After dealing with the large and small items, which had not been here for over a month, Xiao Qingrou easily found the dirty clothes and socks stuffed in the corner. These cannot be washed with magic anymore. Xiao Qingrou crossed the wooden basin around her waist with one hand and took a few turns outside to find the winding down stream. Fairy washing clothes, if anyone sees it, they will open their mouths wide enough to fit 2 duck eggs. However, Xiao Qingrou really squatted on the shore like this, picked up a mallet and pounded it, completely rubbing the small dirt with her hands, and finally drying it alone, achieving great success. The second time, Xiao Qingrou smiled, with a sense of achievement comparable to killing a big demon. Chu Bai doesn't like walking at night, he will be back soon. After saying these words, Xiao Qingrou returned to the thatched cottage, took off her spotless boots and went to bed, entering a state of meditation and cultivation. As the sun set in the west, Chu Bai, who was called to work as a laborer by the manager of the medicine garden, rushed back to his home before the sun set. There is no way out. The disciples who are assigned here are mostly characters that are not loved by their grandparents or uncles. Similarly, the deacon in charge of managing the backyard yam garden is responsible for this. Therefore, his favorite thing to do is to handle the young disciples under his command. Chu Bai is still in his dormant period and does not fight anyone. He goes down the mountain every month to receive his monthly salary and faces difficulties, which he can tolerate. He took a long breath and said, "It's coming soon." I've endured it for a few years, not short of these 1 or 2 days. Suddenly, Chu Bai stopped in his tracks because the innate cave gave him feedback. There was someone at home. The influence of the moon's shadow in the innate cave extends beyond just one thatched cottage. Don't forget that there is also a trapped killing formation outside the spirit gathering formation. However, Chu Bai's strength is low and he is still a poor ghost, so at most he can only receive a warning. Is that Aunt Nan here again? Or is it the assassin sent by Shirley, who has a 4-star hatred? Chu Bai's gaze scanned and soon discovered the clothes and robes hanging outside the thatched cottage. His solemn expression reversed, he used his lightness technique and walked silently, landing quietly in front of the thatched cottage door. Seeing the figure inside the room clearly, Chu Bai's facial expression became even more brilliant. He really wanted to shout out, "Senior sister." But I held back. Every young man hides a heart that pounces into his sister's arms to act coquettishly. Sister will have a gentle smiling face, a mature and charming body, and a charming voice, providing shelter from wind and rain for young people and allowing them to enjoy delicious soft rice. Otherwise, how did the imperial sister come? Senior sister Xiao is 22 years old this year, and she is still a bit far away from the imperial sister. But it's okay, Chu Bai can afford to wait. When he builds the foundation, his senior sister will be his wife. The attribute of being a good wife and mother is not a joke. Anyway, in Chu Bai's opinion, senior sister Xiao is the best senior sister and wife in the world. This has nothing to do with the scene where he had a big dream. Senior sister Xiao's favorability towards Chu Bai is never less than 3 stars. Correspondingly, Chu Bai's liking for senior sister Xiao is also very, very, very high. At this moment, senior sister Xiao is meditating and practicing in bed. Chu Bai did not disturb, raised his legs and took a light step, quietly approaching with the help of the light body technique. Senior sister Xiao didn't react, so he leaned his ear towards her heart. Bang bang, bang bang, bang 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 bang, sister Xiao's heartbeat accelerated and she blushed. End of this chapter.